okay, because we get to move on with tonight's show. Literally, you could have just waited like an extra 10 seconds and you would have been safe, you would have been sound, no one would have known. However, this matchup, where once we thought it could have been a close match, it has really started to snowball toward Elevate's favour. They are looking just so damn strong, Mandy. And maybe we can talk about them first, because this stage, honestly, it's been, I want to say, unconvincing, even though they've only lost, one game, I think. But obviously, in light of their recent performances overseas as well as domestically, they have looked pretty red hot.
I'd have to agree with you on that one. Elevate, they look like the best team coming out of, I wouldn't just say APAC South, I'm going to say all of APAC, Rob. These guys look like they're in hot form. They scared us a bit last week, saying that Sapper was not going to be on the roster, but it seems like he's come back into this 5 roster. We're not seeing Angry X come in for the sub anymore, and I imagine that Elevate, they're looking to secure that major spot. They've come off the back of a upset to Fury, and so for them, winning these next few games is very important, otherwise they could be locked out of that top 2.
Dev, I see a handsome face that has rejoined the roster in the past 2 days.
Yeah, I don't know what really went on with Sapper. They announced that he wasn't going to be playing, and I don't think they ended up missing he ended up missing a game here in South, which is nice.
Not in South.
Yeah, it has been a bit of a roughie though for Elevate. You know, they have, like you said, Manny, been the shining light for APAC as a whole, and yet they started to slip a little bit. They lost to Fury in their last APAC South Playday. And they've had a couple of losses as well in the Operation League, which is kind of uncharacteristic of them. To put it into perspective, since they made it back from the Berlin Major, they have won 7 of their last 12 games. So their record is 7-5. Barely over a 50-50. That is not Elevate that we know and love, right? They're dropping teams, they're dropping matches to Fury, to Direwolves, and even to a team called Champion in the Operation League. Uncharacteristic. They need to get back on that horse. They need to show the dominance that Elevate is known for.
A team that's looking to go back to their dominant form, Dev, I think it's of a couple of years back now. It's WILDCARD. They've been very up and down. I think we can all, call it for what it is. It has been abysmal for this team, Mandy. They brought in the additions of Bounce and Tuhan, hoping that might revitalise a bit of the spark that was lost from them. But unfortunately, it really hasn't done much.
I think I'd have to agree with you on that one. It just doesn't seem like their changes have translated into the server. We can certainly see WILDCARD take on a new style when they go into the server. It's not the WILDCARD of old. They're starting to catch up to these APAC South teams, playing at their pace and playing a little bit more unpredictable. But when they're really down in the dumps in the points like we saw last week, it is so hard to mentally come back from that. And from there, WILDCARD just don't seem to be able to claw a win.
Vinny looks like he's half asleep. This is really concerning. This is only getting worse for me at this point. I really did dive in for WILDCARD, and I think I'm going to have it bitten back quite hard. But one part that we need to dissect, Dev, I'll let you talk about WILDCARD over the vetoes.
Yeah, cool. Look, it's been a rough year for WILDCARD, but let's see if they can get a map that they will be good on. They played Oregon, these two teams, last time they versed. Is it going to be the same? Well, it's made it all the way through, and indeed. So this is kind of cool to me. The last time these teams played, it was actually, funnily enough, a very close game. You know, Elevate and WILDCARD on paper, Elevate is the far better team, and yet it was a 7-5 win for Elevate in Stage 2 when these teams played on Oregon. So a pretty exciting prospect for WILDCARD. They're going back to somewhat familiar territory. And, Elevate, they do like Oregon, but they haven't been perfect on it. They've seen a couple of losses. They actually lost it twice at the Berlin Major in fairly dominant fashion, 7-1 and 7-2 to Furia and Eminem, respectively. So there are some weaknesses that WILDCARD could potentially exploit, as they themselves haven't played it for a little while as well, not since mid-stage 2 either.
Mandy, if ever there was a good opportunity, I want to say this is a great opportunity for WILDCARD, but even then I'm still not overly convinced.
I'd have to say that as well. I just think that Elevate, they look pretty good on Oregon. I think for WILDCARD, I would say that this is a bit of a dent in their map pool. I just feel like Elevate, with their experience as a 5 roster coming back off the major, like you said, they clearly play this map. This is something that they allowed to slip through. And the final 2 maps of that veto was Cafe and Oregon. And both those maps I would lean towards Elevate for that, just because of past form. Now, if WILDCARD have taken their time and they've VOD reviewed Elevate, because there's so many VODs of Oregon for Elevate out there, maybe they could take this one out, but I would say the veto was very much in Elevate's favor.
Well, this is already making me a little bit concerned for Wildcard. But I guess there are still promising signs, and there is still a spark underneath them. I'm going to welcome the dynamic duo, one sitting at 6'2", the other at 5'0". It's Michael and Jake.
Yeah, so big game coming up, obviously, for Elevate. They've dropped out of the top two, Guz, a position that they obviously need to find themselves in if they are to attend the major. Fortunately, they've got that extra game in hand that maybe some other teams don't have. Big game, they get rid of Wildcard, they're back into the top two. That's the way they've got to look at it.
Yeah, and heading into this game, expecting it, at least personally, to be pretty run-of-the-mill. Penciling this in as a relatively comfortable win for Elevate. That said, it's APAC South. Anything can happen. I think the turmoil around Sapper jumping out, jumping back in, we'll have to wait and see if that has a negative impact on the team heading into today.
Well, let's head over to Oregon for our first match of the night, looking to conclude Super Week here for APAC South for Stage 3. It's play day number 5, of course. Only 2 nights ago that we had Playday 4, which was a pretty decent night. We had that big match between Gaming Gladiators and Fury. Obviously, Direwolves were able to take down Wildcard quite comfortably, and Knights and Tide going relatively the distance. Big game, though, of course, coming up. Wildcard, I guess, technically speaking, must win every single remaining game from here, but they've only got 2 remaining games, guys, so it's basically all but done for them and their chances of making the top 2. So it's just all about really business as usual for Elevate coming into Oregon here and starting on the defense. I expect them to get off to a good start.
Lion off the board first from Elevate, so indicating that we'll probably see quite a heavy roam presence from them in these opening rounds, and that is expected of this team to try and get in the face of Wildcard. Doc could be actually doubled down by Wildcard, so although they're starting on the attack, they feel that taking her off the board will make that a little bit more difficult, so backing themselves in for that drone placement and coordination to be on point. So quite risky from them in response, but I guess they need to bring a brand of risk into this match to see some success. So we need to follow up. That's a target ban, of course, to the lovely Onigiri, who crutches that operator at times, but with good success. So with that counter ban in play, we'll see how Elevate adjusts. And Onigiri, right on cue with a thank God in the chat. He doesn't have to play Rudy anymore.
And that was Army. Yeah, pretty much stock standard there for the final ban, and obviously I think Elevate pretty happy with how that actually played out. More so Onigiri than anyone. Let's head into this one. Of course, we didn't get to see Elevate 2 days ago. Guys, they had their bye week, they had their day off, and I guess technically the only team really that has that pleasure of having, you know, basically the ability to have 2 weeks off, I guess. I think they're the only team that would end up having that. Of course, we played Playday 3 back on the 29th of September, so they haven't actually played APAC South since Playday 3 almost 2.5 weeks ago now. So they've actually had some time off since gracing us on the screen. Big game coming up. I wonder, might there be some cobwebs, especially going up against a wildcard team that has nothing to lose?
Well, Mr. Punch has already forgotten one of the basic rules of the league already. So, I mean, they are a little bit rusty in terms of that department. But with that aside, once they get back into the server, yeah, for sure, we'll have to see how the team is shaping up. Of course, games like these can be dangerous, but Elevate have shown really good form and are very rarely complacent. So I'm not too concerned for them. Oregon defense, it doesn't really get too much more comfortable than that. And yeah, not expecting any severe issues here for Elevate. Of course, again, just to I guess reiterate the storyline of Sapper did step out of the team for a brief period. Yeah. We thought it was actually going to be quite an extended
break. How long
break.
was it in the end?
I'd like to say maybe a week,
yeah,
or 2.
Okay.
But he's back. He didn't miss any official APAC South games. I think maybe missed a couple like Operation matches like locally in SEA, but I think they still saw success if I remember correctly. So I guess they can now put that behind them, try and head into this game and see what they've got.
Very, very spunky looking graphic there, of course, for the qualification probabilities in terms of top 2 and making it to the major. 62% is what Elevate's probability would go to. What's interesting about this, though, guys, is when you kind of take into account the next 2 games for Elevate, those are actually the very important ones. They play Direwolves and then they play Gaming Gladiators. So in reality, when I look at this match, this is kind of just the catch-up match for them to get back into the top 2, get to 9 points, and then set up what is going to be a grandstand finish in the final 2 Playdays, where basically they're both must-wins, right? Like, you're winning for yourself, but also to deny those respective teams. And I've already tried to do a little bit of those calculations in the background, but it keeps coming back to that Elevate Direwolves match in Playday 6 next week. That's going to be absolutely massive in terms of who's going to be able to make the major. Maybe both. Who knows? There's a lot that has to, of course, still play out, and that's the beauty of what we've got this stage. It's going to come down to the final Playday.
This game keeps destiny in the hands of Elevate. If they lose it in regulation, you could see the big drop-off in their chance of making the top 2, presumably because even if they win those next 2 games, they'd need other results to go their way, which is a risk you certainly cannot take in a league that only has 7 teams and 2 spots available, and one that has historically been so incredibly close where every single point really does matter, and we're not exaggerating that point. Into round 1 though, 2 minutes still on the clock, Wildcard getting control from the west. They tend to enjoy this horizontal take, and they'll get decent map control off the back of it. Lobby hatch open as well, as Elevate electing to hunker down on site. I thought maybe, again, with the Lion Dockerby double ban on the board, we'd see a bit more of a roam, but quite conservative for this first defensive effort.
Yeah, and one of the areas that Wildcard have actually done okay in this stage, remembering, of course, they've had a couple of wins. Like, they've been okay, they're just not quite being top 4 quality, is entry kills. You know, Bounce and Vinny and Cairo all have positive entry stats, so especially on a map like Oregon, super important. You know, you're trying to take base, but you need to be able to get those early kills in rounds if you've got any roamers on the defense, if they're going to have, you know, the 5-man huddle on site, which it seems like what Elevate's going to be bringing here. Even more so important to be able to push into key positions like Blue, like Pillar, or through Freezer and get those opening kills to really open up the site and give the attacking team some kind of an advantage. Meeting hatch has been opened up, 60 seconds left in the round. It's going to be firm defense here from Elevate, and Wildcard, they're going to have to, you know, play into that. I just hope they don't drop 2-3 players hatch and fall into the trap. They need to have other avenues of attack.
Yeah, and the strong entry stat but poor win record does suggest that Wildcard in the late round struggle, whether that be executes or locking out executes on their own defensive efforts. So we'll see how they go about trying to convert this round. Utility dealt with on site for that planet denial. Timing not too bad with 30 seconds to go, but they need to try and find that crucial pick. They need to try and clear out Blue, still being fortified by the shield. You can see Onigiri on the Maestro, still a position being held over towards Pillar, double down by Sapper. So this is actually going to be quite challenging for Wildcard, and the push through Blue from Bounce is too slow.
Mark still with that Pillar control, though. Couldn't quite find the first kill that he was looking for. It's 2 for 1 there in favor of Wildcard. They'll be very happy with how this is playing out. Bouncing, dropping on down and getting those 2 kills really has opened up the site. It's only Mr. Punch that's left. Does get 1 as OJ does plant. Technically a 1v2, but no, Cairo shuts him down. It's almost like the Wildcard of old, Wildcard of 2020, then the 20-second meta cars coming back there for a short period of time. A little bit disappointing there from Elevate. Didn't really offer a whole lot. Very stagnant on the defense. They offered absolutely nothing above, which gave Wildcard a pretty easy chance of opening up the meeting hatch and being able to get to work in, you know, opening up that site down below. Elevate just really, really did not want to play that round.
Yeah, very strange. Again, Lion Dockerby. When I saw that, I thought 100% Elevate are going to be the team that proactively roam, try to counter that horizontal take from Small Tower, at least create the time buffer against that, and force the time to be even more of an issue for Wildcard, because even with that early map control, it still took Wildcard 2 minutes 30 at least to even really pressure site at all directly. So we'll see if that mentality changes over the course of this match. Maybe Elevate in the first round just not wanting to be too risque, which, I mean, can sometimes be the correct mentality against some teams, but in my opinion, Elevate do thrive when that confidence really is flowing. So we'll see how they change it up. Reinforcements downstairs indicating that a roam will be in play, and Wildcard once more are a team that are going to try and take Small Tower across, get control underneath with that buck, and Vinny will try to pressure that kid's position. So we'll see if it's a bit more successful on this particular occasion, but yeah, round 1, certainly a disappointment for the Thai team.
It is only the opening round, though. Right? We've seen a couple of teams. I think Direwolves is probably the best example of a team that has lost the opening 2 rounds for their last 2 matches and looked a little bit slow and has taken a bit of time to get into those games, respectively. And they end up taking that wonderful tactical timeout. Odin says a few words, and they go on 7-round win streaks. So I do wonder, as I said, sort of, you know, when we started discussing this matchup, cobwebs, potentially. This is a team that hasn't played for 2.5 weeks at the APAC South level. DCH dealing with those drones. pretty effectively and gets out of a tricky situation, does give up that position on the corridor. But yeah, I do wonder, it might take them a round or two to really get going. They are on the defense of Oregon though, so in reality you do want that 4-2 half, ideally. Big site here, obviously Kid Storms. And a bit of position already gained early on for WILDCARD. They'll be pretty happy with how this round has started.
And again, Elevate's set up in anticipation for the push down below. WILDCARD actually subverting that expectation. They're going direct. So that's going to be the wall over towards games opened up immediately. Thatcher has been selected. Of course, not a must pick in the current meta with secondary EMPs, but still very useful nonetheless. A good safety net for the attack. And WILDCARD, much earlier on in this round, are applying direct pressure towards the side.
Yeah, and where's the counter pressure? Elevate's just sort of sitting there and taking it. The wall's been opened up in games. The utility is being cleared basically with ease, and Bouncing finding the headshot onto DCH. 90 seconds left. They've got good position. They've got the opening kill. They've cleared a lot of utility, and they've opened up game's wall. They've done everything right here. But it comes back to that execution, guys. We mentioned it before. The entries have been okay, but it's the late round is generally where they can falter. So this is the next step now for WILDCARD to convert this round into a round win.
Drones down below as well, so Mr. Punch and Mark, I think their impact should be limited. Vinny goes on a bit of a hunt. Probably can just post up and watch the flank. Elsewhere though on site, Sapper steps up, the danger man for the team, but Bouncing, his second kill over towards Addict, unlocks the site now for WILDCARD.
Yeah, pit control, Addict control, they've also gone, obviously still got games as well on a Geary. Spray doesn't quite connect the way he would like. 3 versus 3 now, this should work, and it does. He almost got a double, but Bouncing stands strong. Has now 3 for the round, and 2 versus 2. It has gotten a little bit messy, and this is the WILDCARD that we know this stage. Late round, it doesn't quite play all flawlessly, does it? Mr. Punch tries to get the spray through the wall. This time, no!
Oh.
Staying alive is Bouncing. Tuhan then gets 2. It's a 3-2 punch between the both of them. And it's a 2-0 start for WILDCARD on the attack of Oregon.
Yeah, so the thing we've seen in the last 2 rounds, and it's the trend in the current meta, is an individual player stepping up, making a play, and creating an opening. That round in particular, we saw Bouncing make that push over towards Addict after getting this initial kill on the rappel. So DCH is caught off guard, then Onigiri can't really sustain that amount of pressure, so Bouncing's able to get a second. And then it was the sort of changing of the guard, really. Tuhan stepping up in the post, playing that really well. And Elevate, yeah, really struggling to deal with this pressure. It feels like it's on them at the moment to make something and to try and counter it, but I don't know, the bag seems pretty shallow at the moment. They're not able to extract much, and WILDCARD actually looking pretty dangerous in these opening 2 rounds.
It's terrifying when you consider WILDCARD only 2 nights ago only managed 2 rounds against the Direwolves. It was a 7-2 result, but in that match, guys, of course, WILDCARD did get the opening 2 rounds, and we saw 7 in a row from the Direwolves. I have to bring it up. There's some similarities there. So Elevate do have that maybe to look back on. The historical sense is that WILDCARD start well in these matches, rely on those entry picks, but can be a little bit chaotic and messy in the late round. And we even saw that there in the last round on Kid Storm. So it's early days, early rounds. Obviously, you're going to back in the champs. Elevate have been here before and have been able to sort of brush aside those qualification concerns that we've seen in the past, especially last year. They do qualify now, they do get the job done, but you lose this match and suddenly your path to the major becomes so much more tricky. They need to find a way into this game, and it's not going to be through Mr. Punch. Bouncing is having a tremendous start. He's got 6 kills in 3 rounds and could find more.
And I thought maybe heading into the 3rd round, WILDCARD would read into no hold down below, attack a repick onto that more traditional sort of buck setup that they have run in the past, but no, they actually doubled down, get more aggressive, and Bouncing rewarded for that. It's been a great start for him. Cairo in an engagement as well on DCH, who swings and wins that one. That's the sledge down, so 2 nades gone. The hammer in this instance won't do all that much in soft destruction, but the grenade's useful in any scenario.
Little differences,
once more.
Very little differences. I mean, like the positioning there of DCH, looking to throw a bit of a counterpunch, looking to apply a bit of that pressure back onto WILDCARD, whereas before sitting top flight stairs and just stagnant and sitting still. They do try and peek Bouncing here, and at the moment, I don't know if I would actually want to play into that. He's 6 and 0 and hasn't really missed a shot. Tuhan does go down to Sapper, though. It's been a good start for Tuhan as well. Bouncing, another one. He gets the trade. A much needed one, and has the position known of Mark as well, sitting inside a pit. Will get droned out by Vincier, I imagine, too. Looking to clear out that shield and those ADSs. Still 90 seconds left in the round. OJ pushes forward.
WILDCARD hungry for this pinch. Aim trained on this position. Vinny will be the one that needs to move forward and secure the kill with the pressure from the rest of his team. Really up to Mark now. At least take one with him to the grave. Chances are he won't get back towards site. You can see Bouncing holding that rotation. It's a patience game now for Elevate. Not throw away a pick. Mark needs to be very careful here. Good smoke canister, but OJ to find the kill elsewhere. That's DCH down.
And they know where Mark is as well, so technically you've got vision of one, and Vincier, he capitalizes. Do they know that Onigiri is playing top white stairs, though? I don't know if they have that info. They definitely do now, though, with those shots. He has to push forward, find a new position, does it so easily. Onigiri, he's definitely capable of clutching up, has that red ping, has that info, has the 1v1s, but Bouncing, understanding the situation, pushes forward, swings out, finds the kill. It's a 3-0 start for WILDCARD on Oregon. They are looking to play spoil to the Elevate party. And boy, they've gotten off to the perfect start, the dream start.
I was just about to say, this is where Elevate must take a tactical. Start getting rounds on the board. And in fact, it will be. So I thought I saw OJ call it.
Yeah, I saw the
there,
tech in chat.
I guess effectively would have been a free timeout anyway, so a bit unlucky in a sense, but either way, it needed to be
I need
called.
confirmation here. Have they called an actual tactical timeout, or is it a tech timeout from WILDCARD? Because different circumstances, right? If it is a tech timeout, guys, it's kind of going back to what maybe you were sort of alluding to there, that this was the time they needed to take that tactical. But if it's a tech at the same time, you kind of then can use that tactical later.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and get word from the admins on that, but wow, what a start. Startling for us, I'm sure the viewers at home, and probably more importantly, Elevate, the players inside the server. So confirmation that it was a tactical and it is now a technical, so that pause will be extended. That's at least our understanding at the moment, and we'll update if that changes. But again, just to reiterate, 3 rounds straight for WILDCARD, a team that is a huge outside chance to make the top 2 at the moment. Everything needs to go their way. For Elevate, though, this should be a must-win. They need to set themselves up for the final 2 Playdays. Otherwise, fate is out of their hands. Even if they win the next 2 games after this, which are by no means guaranteed, tough opponents, they still need results to go their way.
Put it this way, guys. If they lose this game and they get nothing from it, Fury just have to win their last 2 games. They'll go to 13 points. Elevate's last 2 games will only put them on 12 points. So you can't even then rely on winning your own games. If Fury win all the remaining games, you can't get above them. So that's just to put that into the perspective here of taking it out of their hands. We do have the confirmation, by the way, that it was the tactical timeout from Elevate now into the technical timeout called by WILDCARD. So that's where we sit at the moment. 3-0 is the scoreline in favor of WILDCARD. A story is brewing here for Super Week of APAC South. Elevate need to respond. They've got 3 more rounds in this first half to do so on the defense of Oregon. But I'm going to be honest, guys, you know, it's one of those situations where do we give the credit to WILDCARD? Are we sitting back and saying, well, they're just playing great Siege? And I think in some ways, when we look at sort of what Bouncing and Tuhan have been able to do, almost as a dynamic duo, and I know that there's the support players really helping out along the way, but I mean, Bouncing's just fragging. Tuhan's playing amazing, but Elevate just haven't looked like, outside of maybe Onigiri, firing a shot.
They're playing scared. That's the indication that I'm getting at the moment. And look, in my eyes, that goes to WILDCARD actually playing really well and coming out of the gate so strong. They're exploiting weaknesses. They're making some really smart picks and finding gaps in the defense here from Elevate. And often these gaps are ones that can't really be closed up without taking significant risk. And each time that risk has been taken, Bouncing or Tuhan in particular have been there to punish, to shut down any form of retaliation. But Elevate, hopefully over the last couple of minutes, have been able to just digress, relax, and reset heading into the rest of the match, take it 1 round at a time. Getting at least 2 here keeps them in the running. Anything less in this half, however, would be of grave concern.
Yeah, certainly so. I think you've got to get 2 rounds from here. Maybe you can only afford 1 more round loss over, but that's still a half won by WILDCARD. If that does sort of eventuate in that fashion, they'll then have to hope that, you know, this ends up being an attacker side at Oregon, which, look, it very much well be, I guess, but Laundry Supply was taken in an intriguing fashion. Obviously, the first time around, 20 seconds left on the clock, you drop down, you get those kills. Is that something that can be replicated? Probably not as easily as the way that they were winning on Kids Dorm. So this is the big telltale factor for me. If WILDCARD win this round, Laundry Supply again, and go up 4-0, I'm probably off the Elevate train well and truly. And they need to do something. And we kind of look at the positioning here of DCH. I do wonder, are they going to look to try and maybe go for a bit more of a pressure above? Do they go for a flank, a roam? But again, they just fall back to site. Minute 45, they're going to allow them into the meeting, open up those hatches, open up security. And it's just going to be sort of a repeat of the first and opening round.
It was a relatively late execute last time for WILDCARD in that first round of the match. It was really on a particular player, Tuhan, on that occasion to be the one to step up, to find that opening. Be the one to open up the round for WILDCARD. Whether or not it's him on this occasion is yet to be seen. Could, of course, be bouncing 8 kills so far in this game, many of which have been incredibly impactful. Sometimes stacking numbers can be a little bit deceiving, but I think in this instance he has truly given WILDCARD a big boost in this match.
That's big.
Sapper, though, that's big. Nitro down. OJ's job, however, pretty much done. He's opened up everything that he needed to, everything that he did in the first round. So it's not the biggest of losses. However, a man down on an execute style like basement will be tricky.
Yeah, I think that's the bigger loss than anything. Pillar control still established as well for Elevate. So a big fight brewing here. Cairo pushing down backstairs. He has to win this fight. You lose this fight, they keep Pillar, you go 3v5, it's probably round over. Players are starting to huddle around and drop. There is one that's going to be pushing in through blue as well, but this drop down is so important. Tuhan losing half health. They try to get Pillar, but they lose it out too easily. That should be job done. Marcus played this perfectly. He'll take everyone to the grave. Bouncing goes up to double digits, but the round will go the way of Elevate, barring an absolute monster performance here from Bouncing. He gets through corridor all the way over to Laundry side, but no, Mr. Punch will shut that down. A much needed round win for Elevate. A sense of relief probably for their fans. It's 3-1.
Yeah, and a really good read. The Nitro from Sapper was great. That obviously put the pressure on WILDCARD. They go for the double hatch drop in response, but didn't have a fantastic read as to where that play was from Pillar. I can only assume Cairo got some bad timing because that Harry Potter position just wasn't being looked at all by those players that dropped. And it was a pretty easy mop-up there from Elevate, showing that they've still got what it takes on that site. But now they throw the spanner in the works. We go over towards Meeting and Kitchen for the 5th round. One that has not seen an appearance in this match so far, and one that can certainly throw off an attack if played well.
Certainly can. I think this is where Elevate can really turn around the half. You win this, you go 3-2, you get one more shot, I guess, at Kids Dorms, which, you know, I guess both of them were won rather comfortably by WILDCARD. But if Elevate can refine a bit of that form and go into Kids Dorms, find a little bit more aggression, don't lose a player early. In both rounds, they lost the opening kill to WILDCARD through bouncing. I do wonder, though, in that last round, how much of it really does come down to losing a player like OJ so early on, makes pushing those sort of positions like Pillar a little bit more difficult. It was a 1v3 in the end, maybe it could have been a 2v3, and that's suddenly a little bit more possible. So big play from Sapper, much needed. And just slowly but surely, when you look at Elevate, the players are starting to have some good individual moments, marking that Harry Potter position. Sapper with the Nitro cell. Onigiri's been playing well. Mr. Punch has got a couple of kills. So it's starting to just get the ball rolling for Elevate. It's almost like they've awoken here. So it's a very important round now for WILDCARD to put them back to sleep, go up 4-1, and re-put the pressure back onto Elevate.
It certainly feels like historically these are the moments where WILDCARD sometimes do begin to slip up. Start off well, and then pressure gets applied and they don't really have much of a response. They let it get the better of them. So we'll see whether or not it happens on this occasion. Ossa in the mix, Tuhan fulfilling that operator, getting those Talon shields down and covering the flank up above. Now the hatch has been reinforced by Elevate, so that's not too much of a concern for WILDCARD if they want to go for a default plant on that double wall near the stage. Currently being opened up now, the right side's soft, so that can be dealt with by the Vitero drone, and Bouncing gets an angle on the left-hand side. Of course, though, it's not as easy as walking in and getting that plant down. Sapper, Onigiri have deep angles in towards that position, and WILDCARD will need to disrupt.
Yeah, but playing the attic position well at the moment, WILDCARD until Tuhan loses his life to Onigiri. So the Ossa goes down, traded though by Bouncing, somehow finding the angle. It's not often that Onigiri does get traded like that, especially considering the position on the backside of Meeting. So 4 versus 4 does at least get rid of one player. holding that meeting position. Sapper, of course, up close. Couple of ADSs as well. Tries to peek out, see if he can find someone, but no, now he's full white, has to sit back down momentarily. Minute left in the round. Vinny getting rid of this shield, so important. But it's a lot of players stacking over to that meeting wall now.
Did he join Sapper? Sapper could just be sitting in the corner. He is. OJ down. Vinny did not see that player in the corner. Eyes all for the deployable shield. Now spotted out. The pressure from the vert, though, doesn't land. He's still able to sit here, causing issues for Wildcard. The smoke as well to just delay a little bit more time. 35 seconds to go. The disadvantage at Wildcard. Bouncing, though. The man of the hour steps up, gets in there, gets one, gets two. He's third for the round. It flips. DCH now, up above. Mark, the flank over towards kitchen corridor. Vinny goes for the plant. Is the coverage good? Mark with the flank. He's being watched. Bouncing for a quad. Now one for the ace, and he's in the perfect position. DCH over towards kitchen to retake. Bouncing can't land that one, but Cairo does. Wildcard with a great 5th round.
Oh, the man who was once a monster returns to Bouncing. And it is playing like a monster now, let's be honest. That is a huge round. What is turning out to be an incredible first half from Bouncing on an individual level. 14 kills, guys, through 5 rounds. Something special. 14-1 and 2 technically, but what a performance. And what a half from Wildcard. In all honesty, obviously coming into this game with probably little to no expectations besides the Oceacopium of Robert J. Monday. Outside of him, I don't think anyone else gave them a shot. DCH did ruin the the ace, but that's okay, we'll allow it. But 4-1, and going back to sort of what we said at the start of the round, guys, this was when it feels like Wildcard fall away. The pressure starts to come back onto them, but not that round. It necessarily wasn't clean. Sapper getting misdroned, gets a kill. Suddenly it seems like maybe Elevate were going to win the round and it was going back into their way, but Bouncer just pushes through, gets 2 kills, opens up and says, guys, you can plant.
What a game from Bouncing so far. Almost a little bit anticlimactic that he was unable to secure that ace, but inadvertently won the round for the team anyway. And so far, going to be one of those games where everyone's going to want to watch it back from his POV. So many big moments, and the match, who knows, could only just be beginning if Elevate are able to get a second round in this half and keep it somewhat competitive. But looking for that round now, it's going to be challenging, the final for the half. Elevate not looking themselves, whereas Wildcard, I guess, on the other side of the coin, not really looking themselves either, but in a much more positive light.
Yeah. Bouncing was +2 in terms of overall KD coming into this game. Not a single member above a 1.0 rating, guys. The only team in APAC South to not have a member above 1 in terms of ratings. Well, that will change after tonight because Bouncing was 0.97, and I think regardless of what happens from here, he should go above 1 at the very least from tonight. And a massive performance, and and was one of the players I mentioned, when we sort of got going here on Oregon. The entry was something that has been somewhat of a boon for this team. Bouncing +2, Vinny +1, Cairo +1. Not a lot of teams will have 3 players that are going positive on the entry. It's those late round executes. So when you've got Bouncing that is just literally running in to meeting late round and just picking up 2 free kills, opening up sight, that solves that kind of issue. You're getting those early picks, I mean, mainly through Bouncing. Bouncing's doing it all at the moment. He's getting the entry kills. He's getting the late round kills. This man can't do anything wrong. 1 more round in the half, though. No one would have predicted a 5-1 half in favor of Wildcard here. Absolutely no one. Even 4-2 is still a big win for them.
I know Rob predicted Wildcard to win this game, but he'd be kidding himself if he ever thought they'd have this sort of lead. Staring down the barrel of 5-1 half. Absolute insanity. He's not happy with that one. Chirping up in the background, but Wildcard, they've been good. Cairo, quick entry again over towards small tower. Sapper, though, information of his own. Maybe spotting the heartbeat of the sledge through the wall. He's teamed up with Mr. Punch. The Wildcard maybe finally going for this style of push. Down below, get that vert up above. They've been direct so far, and quite successful, but just changing it up a little bit here to throw Elevate off once more.
Well, they have to do something a little bit different. Stock standard hasn't worked. I think that this is what has been Wildcard's strength this stage. When they're aggressive, when they're feeling confident, it's when they're put on the back foot that they really just crumble apart. We saw that a little bit 2 days ago against the Direwolves. Onigiri has been playing his role, getting those kills, just not really able to sort of match, obviously, the full offensive power of Bouncing so far. Low on health, so does get the kill, but almost dies for it. A couple of early Candelas thrown out by OJ. Minute left on the clock. Gasbabe thrown up towards Attic, and it's Mr. Punch that gets the kill to Vince here. Cairo with the nade onto DCH. Where's Bouncing, though? That's the... Well, he's dead, obviously, so... I mean, obviously, this is where it's going to be tricky for Wildcard. They don't have the superstar available. Tuhan's got to go up and clutch, and he does. He gets one onto Mark, pushing up now into Dorms. 40 seconds left. OJ in sight, but Tuhan falls to Sapper. Elevate on the verge of bringing this back to a 4-2 scoreline.
Need to try and find one more before the plant. Cairo up top white. Swiftly wants to find this one and does. OJ lit up, now going for the plant. 20 seconds remain. Time's not the issue. 2 players down below, though, is. OJ wants to get in a safe position for this plant. There's information, though, down below OJ.
Alongside.
I don't know if you can plant there, but Sapper shoots the wrong location. OJ able to stick the plant, and now we're in a post. Mr. Punch down, and Sapper left to make his way up white and try to claim it back.
Cairo with a big kill while protecting OJ. Sapper, wrong location. It's cost him and it's cost Elevate, now in a dire situation in a 1 versus 2. That cardiac sensor's not going to do you a whole world of good, and they know that you're pushing up white stairs now. They'll be watching and they'll be waiting, and Cairo's already got 3. OJ will take out the final member of Elevate. It's a 5-1 half. It's a statement from Wildcard, and it's a disaster for Elevate.
There are some serious issues with Elevate at the moment. When we flicked to Cairo's POV during that round and he's just sitting in the middle of kids, how have Elevate allowed that to happen? How has it not been properly communicated? He should not be in that spot. I understand there's 2 players down below, but they have been baited by Wildcard whilst they run around on site causing issues. There's the replay. Too hard on site, causing issues. Cairo as well, making a good play on Agiri, getting pinched. And then, unfortunately, Sapper doesn't have a nitro. He doesn't shoot through the floor correctly. The hard wall is covering that angle, so the plant was able to get stuck and retaking up above, up that staircase. You're asking for the impossible. Wildcard, a 5-1 lead. This has been remarkable. And Elevate, arguably, in my opinion, the best team this year in APAC, are making a fool of themselves at the moment and potentially costing themselves a spot at the major, and more so preventing themselves from locking in that SI spot, which is so close.
That's exactly what I was thinking there. Major's one thing, SI is a whole nother kettle of fish. I mean, this is staggering, the fall here for Elevate. And guess what? They play Direwolves next week, who are currently top of the standings, and then after that they play the Cayman Gladiators. It doesn't get easier for them. It really has just thrown their stage into disarray. If they lose every remaining game from here, they will miss out on SI. And they will certainly not be going to the major. Do they have what it takes, though, to claw their way back from the depths of hell? And quite honestly, need to almost get 6 rounds, Guz.
Yep, every point critical. And if Wildcard get the next, that's a maximum of 2 only for Elevate. Best case scenario, so. Been a weird old game so far. Bouncing, 14 kills. Misdroned. He's 15th. Could be here in just a moment. To Elevate know of his position. I think they will now. He has been an absolute menace in this game so far. Only shut down on a few occasions, and those in which he hasn't caused a lot of issues. Confirmation there on the drone, but Bouncing falls back.
Well, guess what? There's only 4 drones left. That's another one just gone. Not a lot of intel going in for the late round.
And look, let's compare this defense to what we saw from Elevate.
Oh.
The roam was already significantly better. They got the drones. Now look at the time. That said, Onigiri saves the day, really, for Elevate. That's at least a pick now to play off.
Yeah, I think Onigiri was aware pillar position was open and that someone needed to rotate back over to it. So as you watch that, you wait, you get the free kill. Just so happened to also be Bouncing. That's a massive kill. All things considered, though, Cairo Tuhan fracking out now as well. So it's not just all on Bouncing after a tremendous first half. Maybe just slowing down slightly here and just opens the door for Elevate in what is a must-win round. Otherwise, it's match point wildcard, and it's only 2 points possible then for Elevate if they can somehow then push it to OT from there. They've got so much work to do. How they have found themselves in this position befuddles me. 45 seconds, though, and they still have a lot more to do in this round. As you said, Guz, a lot of time wasted by wildcard. Done so very successfully.
30 seconds remain. Smoke still billowing. Elevate, though, with the advantage. Pyro's still up close, though, with the shotgun. Tuhan has a nitro as well, so the util game from wildcard. Strong. Pyro time, though, Mr. Punch. He enters for one. It's explosive, but forced back once more. 15 seconds, but marked for another. OJ now in the 1 versus 5. Could try and play time. 10 seconds remain, but it's not enough. Flawless from Elevate.
This is the beginning of the comeback where they salvage their stage, salvage their position at SI, salvage their chance of going to the major. Are we watching it back in real time? 5-2, the scoreline. Arguably needing another 5 rounds straight from here. And if they were to manage that, Guz, it would mean we would be playing a game of Oregon that has only 1 successful defensive round win. 1.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
Staggering to think about after years gone by on this particular map. Still, such a long way to go. All it takes is 1 slip up. And, you know, arguably when you look back at that last round, a very critical part of that was Onigiri getting the opening kill onto Bouncing. You've just shut him down, and it just really does kind of throw the round itself back into the favor of Elevate. You get the opening kill to 5v4. You shut down the man who's just on a heater. But can you do it another 5 rounds in a row? That's the question now that is posed to Elevate.
Bouncing really has been the win condition here for Wildcard. If he's shut down, it could cause issues for Elevate. Of course, the dynamics are a little bit different though on the defense. On the attack, Bouncing was finding a way to find position and make plays. Obviously, that's quite a bit different to defense, especially if you're playing more of an on-site, quite defensive setup. Finding that space to make plays can be difficult, but I mean, the numbers don't lie. The game doesn't lie. When he's been shut down, Elevate have seen success. So we'll run with that for now and see if Elevate can continue to do so. Swift entry down below here from DCH, and early engagement potentially. Cairo droned. Falls back. Very well played. That was a dangerous position, but he gets out of it.
Yeah, and I'm very curious to see how Wildcard's going to play this from here, because they do have a couple of rounds sort of banked up here that they can have what I would consider some intriguing plays.
Well, did OJ get droned?
I don't believe he has. That's
Oh, no.
going to be a free kill. He has gone a little early, but DCH almost helping him out there at the last second. Drone climbing up the ladder.
That's just a little bit of complacency there from Elevate. That should be getting droned.
3 drones left. What are they doing with
That's
these
been
drones?
a big issue. I mean, we saw it last round as well, right? Similar time frame. I think it was, what, 4 left, maybe a little bit deeper into the round. So some issues there. Whereas Wildcard on their attacks typically had, I think, about 7, 8 left at this sort of timestamp. So big discrepancy there. Wildcard not even running the mute. They don't need to. They're finding them manually and doing a good job in dealing with them.
2 drones. Minute and a half, guys, and 2 drones. And Onigiri is going to send in another one. They're throwing them out like Skittles. I mean, in fairness, it's Kid Storms. You kind of know roughly the site, and if they're playing largely on there, sure. But, I mean, it's staggering to think that they're just, handing them out so freely. Full credit, though, to Wildcard and obviously shutting those drones down and denying a lot of that intel gathering. Bouncing another kill. All right, he's back. And this looks like Elevator done. Maybe for this game, maybe for the stage.
Ooh.
Nice Sonigiri continues to rise to the occasion, to the moment. 8-5 now for him. He's definitely been doing whatever he can, but he's got so much to do, so much to look at. And Vinny will shut down that crab walk. 49 seconds left. 4 versus 2. Sapper and Mr. Punch, unfortunately, loses Mr. Punch to Cairo, and it looks like Elevate are going to lose this game. Their chances of going to the major completely in tatters at the hands of a wildcard team that has been up and down, but right now they're having one of their biggest moments that we've seen in APAC South history. Match point wildcard.
Still finding it difficult to wrap my head around that statement being made. WILDCARD on a heater right now, playing well. OJ with a good entry, Elevate, a missed drone. And Onigiri trying so hard there to make a play. He shut down Bounce, and that was really well done, but WILDCARD with the double peaks they've shown throughout this match, too strong. And then Sapo at the end, there's nothing he can do. 4 match points to the Aussies, back down to basement, a big buffer to play with here. And Elevate must be very frustrated at the moment. This was a shoo-in. This should have been 3 points towards the standings, fortify their position, reset, refocus for the final 2 big games of the stage. But now that's up in the air, and they will be relying on quite a few things really now to go their way, not only to make the major, but perhaps even to finish in the top 4 to lock in that position at SI.
10 seconds left before insertion.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, just a little speechless at the moment, guys, to comprehend what is happening here. 6-2. You know, there's an upset, you know, in a sense, if WILDCARD gets like a 7-5 win, or they win in OT, 8-6, 8-7, bit of a scrap, it's back and forth. But they are just dominating Elevate. Absolutely total domination. And really, besides Onigiri, yeah, basically besides Onigiri, haven't seen a whole lot from anyone else. Some moments here or there from Zappa. One good round from Mark. Mr. Punch has been okay, but it's not the Elevate we're used to seeing. And I can't help but feel it's just all but over here.
That's cruel. The jump out from Big Tower really now to probably secure the game. That has encapsulated the match for Elevate, and if Bouncer gets away with it a second time,
Do it again.
it's time to throw your keyboard
Do it
at your
again.
monitor.
Do it again, Bouncing. I mean, you may as well. You're up 6-2.
Nah,
He's
he got
fragging
drained.
out.
He got drained. Surely not now.
One of the more staggering upsets that we've seen in this region, and we've seen some upsets in APAC South. Most definitely. 5 versus 4, just under 2 minutes left. They can choose to play this one a bit safe and head back to site. I think they might do that. They've already got that opening kill. Don't throw away a very, very strong position. Holding back stairs.
Clash in play, of course, which we haven't mentioned. Something that might be tricky to deal with. No Zofia to concuss. Grenades available, though, from DCH if required. Just another frustrating obstacle outside of the disadvantage that Elevate will need to contest with. Rotation over towards the front side of the map. Lobby hatch open.
And there's a couple of fans that are going to be extraordinarily happy. And they're not WILDCARD fans, guys. They're GG fans. They're Fury fans. Direwolves fans. This is a result that helps all of those teams in looking to get a top 2 position, in looking to go to the major. One last push here from Elevate. Sapper pushing through Freezer. These are his stairs. Usually on the defense and not so much on the attack. He can't land those shots, but it's Onigiri. Again, that has taken down Bouncin. If not for Onigiri, this would probably be 7-0. And just gives them a bit of hope. 4 versus 4. Final push. Final attack here from Elevate.
Mark has the diffuser for the front push, so Onigiri will be looking to squeeze from the back stairs to make a play. Looking a little disjointed at the moment, but they could connect something together. Sapper, however, taken down by the Razor Bloom of all things. Of all things, with 15 seconds to go, it's up to Onigiri to make a play and keep Elevate alive.
We need something special here, Onigiri, to keep Elevate in this game. He has to go nuclear. There's no other way. He hasn't even got time, and he hasn't got teammates either. Mark dying out to Vinny. There's no time left. There's no chance. There's no way. The clock is red. The game is red, but it's not for Elevate. It's for WILDCARD. Can you believe it? WILDCARD have won 7-2 on Oregon against Elevate. WILDCARD.
Unbelievable. WILDCARD essentially at this point have no chance of making the major. Of course, they've just kept it alive after this performance, but incredibly unexpected. Equally deserved though. 7-2. And of course, a huge shout out to Bounce and had an absolute cracker of a game. And this will go down as hugely impactful for how the standings are going to shape up at the end of the night.
How has that happened? What have I just witnessed? 7-2. There's beating a team, guys, and then there is demolishing a team. Bouncing was superb. Turhan was almost like the Robin to his Batman, and really, as the game got going, everyone else just sort of jumped on the joyride for what is one of the bigger upsets that we've really seen in APAC South history. Monumental when you just beat a team, beat them like that. But to think of the ramifications, the repercussions here for Elevate now are staggering. And obviously, we'll have those on the desk to sort of take you through what it all means.